now. Of course, she's the head coach at Cal State Fullerton, has been to the NCAA tournament 4 times, 4-time Big West coach of the year. They've won the Big West the last 4 years that's been played. I speak of Kelly Ford joining us here on In the Circle. Finally got Coach Ford on the program. Coach, how you doing?
Oh, doing fantastic. Thanks for having me. This is just a beautiful day here in California and just enjoying the opportunity to spend some time with you.
Well, you certainly have been kind of in a bit of a break currently. You're 18-11 on the season. You've gotten 29 games in. Let's just start with that. How has the season gone from just getting games in, and what have you learned about your team now through 29 games?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Let's see. Okay, about the 29 games I believe we've got in.
Yeah.
Just been, like was chatting with you a little bit earlier, just feeling really grateful that we were able to make this happen. I look at our conference across the board and see that, boy, we've almost doubled games, opportunities to compete with the majority of our opponents. So just feeling really lucky that our administration and our president and our athletic trainers found a way to get us back on the field, practicing safely and allowing us to put together a pretty darn competitive schedule. And boy, it was crazy scheduling. And I know all my colleagues across the country feel the same way, but we were winging it. You know, one thing would get canceled, one thing would get changed. So-and-so couldn't travel out of state, couldn't travel out of region, and you had to make a switch on a dime. But luckily, we were able to put together a pretty good pre-conference schedule and made it happen. So overall, I'm just feeling really lucky and happy with how our team is coming together.
Yeah, has anything surprised you about your team so far on the field that you didn't know? Because obviously when you get into a season, you have certain ideas about your team, but there's certain things you don't know until you actually play games. So I'm just kind of curious what jumps out from your team that maybe has surprised you or you've kind of learned about your team.
Our freshmen have stepped up. We, on any given lineup, have at least half of our lineup freshmen. And at one point, 7 of our 9 were freshmen. And so you might ride a little bit of a roller coaster, and we have ridden a little bit of a roller coaster with just figuring out what buttons to push with them, what they can handle pressure wise, and making some, of course, coaching decisions and changes. But that has been the biggest, I can't say surprise, but I don't know that I saw so many freshmen starting in our lineup when I was looking at this roster in the fall, but it's been a pleasant surprise, and they have elevated our program, no doubt.
Let's talk about your offense. You're hitting 310 as a team offensively. Who are your leaders on the offense? You mentioned you've got so many young faces. Who are some of the players that, for those that haven't followed your program, that has stood out that people, when they watch you, should remember the names?
Yeah, well, we lead off with a freshman center fielder. Cheese is her nickname, and that's what everybody knows her by. But boy, she's a lefty that can hit. She can place the ball, slap, drop it down, and has fantastic speed. In our 2 spot, another freshman, Bailey Wallace, again, a lefty slapper type. They make a great combo. In a 3 spot, guess what? Another freshman. Middle infielder. She's at second base right now. KK Humphreys, just, boy, she has some incredible tools defensively, but offensively is just a threat at the plate, every time she comes up. 4 spot, another freshman. I can keep going on and on about the freshmen, but Hannah Becerra, third baseman. Yes, she is taking care of business at the plate, but I've been most impressed with her defense. Nothing gets by her at third. It's just fun to watch her out there. She is aware, she anticipates, and I just really, really impressed with her defense. Again, I don't know if you want me to go through the lineup like this, but in the 5 spot has been Daisy Munoz, who's just a sophomore at first base, and boy, has power. RBI potential, and just really had a great weekend, starting off the series with UC Davis. Julia Valenzuela, our senior, that finally have and she's a super senior catcher, has just come alive with their offense. Just I think she's always been super strong defensively, but probably carried a lot of pressure to the plate up until her senior year. And I think what has been a real, I guess, surprise has been how free our seniors are playing. I think getting that year back, and there are super seniors getting that year back, they feel a lot of gratitude, and they're just out playing with freedom. So it's been awesome to be a part of. Let's see, where am I at? Peyton Toto, shortstop. Irie. Actually, I think Irie, Daisy, and Julia have kind of alternated in the 4, 5, 6, 7 spot in the lineup. But Irie has been our DP, has just been clutch. And then we've got Peyton Toto, another freshman at shortstop, that has done a good job for us defensively, just been really consistent out there. In the 9th spot, a super senior, Kelsey Whitmore, who made 2 of the best plays I've seen in outfield play in my career this past weekend, diving into a fence and then foot first slide catch in right field. But that was probably way too much, but I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And, what stands out to me, you got more freshmen on your roster than you do sophomores through seniors combined on your team. Or it's so I'm fascinated.
Yeah, this is the largest freshman class. Yeah.
Is this one of your youngest teams you've ever had?
Oh, for sure. This is the largest freshman class. I mean, doubling the past number of freshmen that we have brought in. And I think we're just really ready to elevate the program. And we decided that this is a time. We've been floating around the 40 RPI and for the last few years, and we needed to go big, and we went big with this class.
So with a young roster like that, you mentioned Julia, super senior, and some of the other seniors you've got, Kelsey, and how important and critical is them and that leadership and the experience they have and showing the freshmen what it's to take for the Titans program and what the success that you've had and kind of, show them the ropes, if you will.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they've come up with a theme for our season, and it's family, fight, and finish it. And they're basically saying, this is how we do it. Jump on our backs. Let's go. And it's been incredible. Most of the time, I find that the seniors graduate with all this wisdom and all this experience. And now that wisdom and experience has come back, and they are committed to sharing with the underclassmen. They have all gone through the, obstacles and turmoils of Division I softball, whether it's been being a role player, whether it's been nursing an injury, whether it's been having to redshirt, whether it's been struggling with performance or the mental game through their, 4 years prior, they've experienced it. So they just sit down and they talk to our freshmen and, oh, you're going through a hitting slump. Well, guess what happened to me my sophomore year? Oh, you're struggling with not starting. Guess what? I didn't start 1 inning my freshman year. And so it's been so valuable. If I could bottle this, patent it, bottle it, sell it, I'd be a millionaire. It's incredible.
Well, your pitching staff's led by a senior, and Sophie Frost. She's 8-3 on the season. What does she mean to your team and your program? And then talk about the rest of your staff.
Yeah, she came back from COVID ready to compete the next day. She trained, she got better physically, mentally, and with her skill set. And I can't say that every one of our players did that, but she committed to, and that was when it was just a chance that they might get their year back. So she made the choice to come back prepared and ready. And I you know, she is, they nicknamed our, you know, grandma in the bullpen. And even our underclassmen gave all of our super seniors jokingly canes before conference play, and just kind of said, show us the way, grandmas. And so it's been a theme, but she's not only the grandma in the bullpen, but the leader, and just she's going to leave her mark on Titan softball, no doubt.
What about the rest of the staff? You've got Savannah Serrata, freshman's won 5 games for you. You got Ellie Zellian, Danny Martinez. How do you feel about your staff right now here at this point in the season with the arms that you have?
I wish I had more innings to get them all in. That's my biggest struggle right now, because there's just talent. And I, you know, you get into conference play, and of course, you go with experience, and Soph's got the most experience. So she threw 2 out of the 3 in our conference play this last weekend. But I'm telling you, we've got arms that are ready to also take on that role of being starters. And I think we just wanted to get the experience out there and throw Soph because she's the most ready. But Ellie has been just a surprise. Ellie, it's kind of funny. She didn't come in, and she was not recruited as a pitcher. But when our conference made a decision to have a travel party, she's, Coach, how am I going to make that travel party? I said, well, your best shot is going to be busting out and pitching again. And so she started training, and now you'll see her start in a conference series for sure. She's capable of it. Danny Martinez, again, just has the experience. We've rode on her back for 2 seasons now, and just she's struggled a little bit, but it's awesome to see she's in a breakthrough right now, and she'll get the ball for a start as well. Savannah Serrata, she came to us that semester. So that's tough to do, transfer into a program that's got a full pitching staff. We recruited her really hard, and she made the choice to go to Florida. And then in the fall, just figured out it wasn't a fit for her. So we welcomed her back. She's going to be a talent that you're going to see for years for us. But I love her, just her presence out there. She's a competitor. We also have 2 other pitchers that are super talented. Alexia Silvas, a transfer from Mount Sac, and a lefty, Stacy Chambers from San Diego. That's what I'm talking about. We need more innings. So this week, we don't have a conference series this weekend because we were supposed to play Bakersfield, and they opted out for the season. So we're going to do a 3-game series ourselves, and I think it's going to be just as competitive as Big West play.
It's great to hear the words conference play and Big West play again, because we didn't have that last year. What's that like for you to have that back and being on the field again after everything that happened last season? I'll never forget. I watched your last game last season. You played UCF, and it was so odd because there was nobody in the building. I mean, take us through from that point on until now, the present. What has the last year been like for your program from that standpoint?
Well, that particular day, for many reasons, wasn't good. One, we got it handed to us by Central Florida. And then getting the news, on top of it, it was raining. I remember we were hosting a tournament. We had a tarp. I get a call from my athletic director, and we had already heard Boston, who was there, that their season was canceled. And so it was just absolute shock. Our athletic director came and met with our team and shared the news that the season had come to an end, and we just couldn't believe it. So every day we were getting new news over the next couple weeks and trying to, manage our players, and they're in the dorms, what they're going to do. Do they go home? We're switching to online learning. It was just a storm. And I think that's where leaders, break through. And I remember, our seniors saying, what, this is it? This is the end of our career? And then getting the news that they were going to get their senior season back. And we had 7 last year, and some chose to, move on and like Trish Parks had already had her master's degree, and she was like, Coach, I mean, I just don't think I can come back and get another master's degree. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm going to, move on in my professional career. Same with Zoe. Same with, who's our other senior that had decided to move on and not compete. I'm drawing a blank right now, but the ones that decided to stay, I thought, man, what a sacrifice, because they had to choose to start grad school, to put off their careers, to pick a second major, undergraduate major. So they all found a way to make this happen. So I was really keep my fingers crossed, all the way up until the end of fall, that our season was going to happen for these guys, because they had changed their life plans for us. So I think once we got really sick of Zoom meetings, because there's only so much you can do, but we all participated, made the most of those. Once we got back on the field in fall, I think what I experienced, I didn't realize, I was down with my spirits, but I didn't really realize it until I got on the field again and felt, that joy, and saw those smiling faces, and got to, hit ground balls, throw front toss, throw BP again, and just experience that camaraderie. And that it was, and there's some fear there too, because I'm in charge of everybody's safety. But I just appreciate the support I got there, and seeing that joy, I think got us kind of all back on track. And again, our athletic department getting us back on the field for spring practice was just, amazing. So there you go. There you have it. And now we're playing, and we got our first conference series under our belt, and it just feels a bit of a relief. It feels full, complete joy. And I'm just really, really honored to be able to coach these seniors and the rest of our athletes again.
Speaking with Cal State Fullerton head coach Kelly Ford here on In the Circle. How did you get into coaching softball?
My dad coached me when I was, growing up. And I remember the funny thing is, I remember always, bantering with him after. And I was probably, I don't know, 8 years old. Coach, Dad, why didn't we do this? Or Dad, we should do these rundowns at practice. And I got it, Kelly. I got practice. And I think it just really started at a young age with my dad coaching me. And my mom was an athlete also. So not necessarily softball, but I grew up playing, all sports, volleyball, basketball, softball, and lucky that when I was in high school, they still allowed that and you could do that. So I had it in my blood, probably from my family. I have a lot of, my grandfather was a teacher and he was a musician, but, falls under the same umbrella, and just was around a lot of educators and coaches, and knew that's what I wanted to do. And then got offered some opportunities, as I was done with college, and just grateful for my mentors and being a part of these student athletes' lives is an absolute joy.
People may not be aware, for some, you're a graduate of Oklahoma. You're in the early 90s. Describe your time at Oklahoma.
Oh, I remember going on my trip, and truthfully, I hadn't seen the softball field yet. I hadn't met the head coach yet, Michelle Thomas at the time. The assistant coach, Jim Bedia, who's one of my dear friends and mentors still to this day, took me to a football game, sat me on the 50-yard line, and I said, "Where do I sign?" So it was before the time of the amazing stadium and all the incredible, success that Patty Gasso has had and the program has had. But I had the time of my life. I just absolutely met some great teammates that I'm still in touch with, and like I said, just incredible experience at University of Oklahoma. I even got to coach there a year with Jim Bedia, and that opened doors for opportunities, for the rest of my coaching career. So just wouldn't have traded it for the world.
And I'm glad you brought it up, because I wanted to bring that up, because you were there at the Oklahoma. This was pre the Patty Gasso era, if you will, like you mentioned. So I don't know if people really appreciate that Oklahoma is now to what it was before. It was a different time back then. It was softball wasn't as big.
Well, it was Big Eight. We were the
Right.
Big Eight conference
Yeah.
for one, and we played at Reeves Park, which was a local rec park. We had to put up our, PVC pipe fence ourselves for every home game. And we'd often get there. We'd have to end practice early because there was a slow pitch game on the field. So it was definitely a different era. But like I said, we were, mid to upper Big Eight as far as competitiveness went. I went to actually Central Arizona College first, where we won a couple national championships, and so we had a pipeline of recruits come from there, and it was really a neat experience to play. We played for Clint Myers at Central Arizona College, and then a lot of myself and teammates transferred to University of Oklahoma, and we had a great travel schedule, collected a lot of wins, and just really, really enjoyed the experience. But yeah, it's completely different. The SEC didn't even exist softball wise when I played. So.
It's wild. And you mentioned, obviously, your coaching career. You've coached at different levels, and you've also been the assistant and the head coach. Just to talk about your journey as a coach once you got into it, and part of the process. You go from one place to another, and then eventually end up at Fullerton, which you spent a couple years as an assistant, and then came back to be the head coach. Just talk about your journey as your coaching travels.
Okay. Well, I got a grad assistant job under Gary Torgeson at Cal State Northridge after I graduated from Oklahoma. And it wasn't even really a position, but that's the title he gave me for no pay. Oh my gosh, I learned how to line a field. I learned how to score keep. I learned how to lay sod, build a shed, all these, really useful tools. And I was so grateful to be taught by him. He was a football coach by trade and got the bug for softball. So he was super motivating and just a worker, and incredible experience there. And I went on to coach there about 6 years. And then an opportunity came at Cal State Fullerton for an assistant coaching job. And it was as Judy Garman was retiring, and Michelle Gramacki was her assistant, and then Michelle Gramacki was taking over. So there have been 3 coaches in Cal State Fullerton's, or head coaches, in the history, and I'm the third. But it was pretty magical to be able to have coached with Judy Garman and Michelle Gramacki for a stint. And so when Michelle retired and this opportunity came open, this was the one place, and I had been offered and had been interviewed at several other institutions, but this was the fit for me. In that time, after I was an assistant at Cal State Fullerton, so I was a Division I assistant for 9 years after I played, and then decided, okay, I want to get my feet wet and try this head coaching thing out. So I had a huge draw to JC ball because that was my route. So I got the job at Mount Sac and was a professor and head coach at Mount Sac, which is about 15 minutes north of Cal State Fullerton. I thought, I'll just do that for a couple years and then get some experience as a head coach and go back to Division I. But boy, I stayed there for 11 and a half years, and just again, amazing experience. And then the job at Fullerton opened up, and I thought, I'm going to throw my name in the hat. And then here I am. So my journey was, both as an assistant about a third of my career, JC head coach about a third of my career, and now Division I head coach about a third of my career. So it's been, again, just been on to, I learned one thing that I'll keep with me forever is surround yourself with great people. And that's what I seem to have done on my career path.
I'm glad you mentioned Judy Garman, because some of their audience may know that name from the tournament, Judy Garman Classics, one of the great tournaments out there in college softball every year.
Mm-hmm.
that we look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
But she had an incredible career as the head coach at Fullerton from 80 to 99, led them to the 1986 College World Series, the national championship there at the World Series. Just describe what that name means, not just to Fullerton, but that region in California in softball.
Oh, just a legend. I think still to this day, I need the audience to know she will critique our games. She shows up at the Judy Garman tournament, gets her notepad out, writes a list. Kelly, what about this? Why aren't you guys doing that? It's awesome. It's awesome. She has just an incredible mind for the game. And I remember as an assistant for her, I was in awe. Here she's juggling the season. She would run coaching clinics with 300 plus participants. And then she'd be, oh, we're going to travel internationally. And there was nothing she wouldn't take on. And not to mention, what she did for Title IX and equity and our facilities and making sure that our student athletes or the student athletes in that era had things that other programs didn't. She's yeah, like I said, just a legend. But I want everybody to know, this is kind of a funny little story. She was at the Judy Garman tournament and in the elevator at the Marriott, because she stays on site when she comes to that tournament. And she was in the elevator with a young player, not a college player, a young maybe a 12-year-old, and the Judy said, "Oh, what are you here for?" And she said, "The Judy Garman tournament." And she said, "Well, do you know Judy Garman?" And the little girl said, "Well, she's still alive." And so Judy's on a mission to make sure that everybody knows she is still alive and supporting, Cal State Fullerton softball. But it's really, really a funny story that she's quite a sense of humor, but just absolute legend.
No question. A national championship in 86. I think they went to the Women's College World Series other times other than that. I mean, there's a history there at Fullerton. And one of the things I've always appreciated about Cal State Fullerton is it's a softball and a baseball school. The great success the baseball program has had in softball. Not many schools could say that. What is it about Fullerton that is so successful and supports baseball and softball?
Well, I think it's the history. We've had some amazing coaches, both on the baseball and softball side. The community rises around baseball and softball. Our facilities are just beautiful. And I do want to add that we're getting a whole new baseball clubhouse and renovations to our softball clubhouse, new locker rooms, new video analysis rooms, training room, offices, just going to be Taj Mahal, I think, of West Coast facilities as far as, the baseball and softball clubhouse go. So we're very fortunate. I think, it's just what our alumni, both baseball and softball, our coaches, what they started, it's my goal every single day to try to fill those shoes of Judy and Michelle and make our alumni proud. And they're very active, and they come out when they can be here in person and support. They donate. They still, have that Titan pride. It doesn't go away. So it's just something, like I said, that our, alumni have started, and we're just trying to continue that and make them proud.
How much of that support, the backing from the school, the alumni, the tradition is a big part of why you're there? Because every time there's a job in a West Coast major job that opens, your name pops up because of the great job you've done. But you're still obviously at Fullerton. I'm sure you've been reached out, but you're comfortable. You said that. Mm-hmm. This is the perfect fit for you. How much of that, the fact you have that support from the alumni and the school? You mentioned you're getting renovations in the stadium. Not a lot of schools could say that. That's a big part of why you're still there, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it really starts with the leadership at the top. Our president, he is so connected to athletics. He shows up on my team Zooms. He comes into our athletic department Zooms. He shows up at the games. And I couldn't believe it when they named him president. Fram came down to our post-game talk, right on the field, right into our circle. And this was really before I knew him. And I thought, oh gosh, what's going on here? Is this good or bad? And he got right in with the girls. His wife makes my team cookies and celebrates their birthdays. And I just can't say enough from the leadership from the top. And then our vice president of student affairs, she's also just so engaged with athletics. And Jim Donovan, our athletic director, and he's my supervisor. I report directly to him, and sometimes that can be good and bad, but I see it as good. He is just a leader, and he's changed the culture of our athletic department. And he demands a lot. He is like the head coach of our athletic department, and I want to play hard for him. And that has trickled down, I feel, to my coaching. And I want those athletes to feel the pride, feel that they're treated equitable, and feel that they are special on this campus. And so that leadership comes from the top. And I want to work hard for all of our leaders on campus.
Couple things before we let you go here. Big West, you started Big West play. Just talk about the Big West, your thoughts on the conference this year. And, because I don't know, for people that don't follow it closely, you got, yourself, you got Long Beach State's been a good program there. Coach Souter's done a great job there. Hawaii, everybody that's followed softball knows Hawaii and their program. Oh, yeah. Cal Poly. Just talk about the league as a whole, as coaches. Some of the talk, maybe how the conference schedule came about, if there was any talk about, options from a conference schedule standpoint, and just the overall outlook for the league.
Every single weekend is knockdown, drag out when conference starts. You can I have the utmost respect for our coaches. I will tell you, this was kind of a neat deal that came out of COVID. Is we, as a coaching staff in the Big West, or as the head coaches in the Big West, we started meeting every other week and sharing what was going on our campus, brainstorming, troubleshooting, trying to stay ahead of legislation and decisions that might come up because of COVID. And it really, usually you just compete against your, conference teams, and you get to know the head coach that way. But getting to know the coaches behind the scenes, we really have a special group of people running Big West softball, and so I feel really lucky to be a part of this coaching circle. But it, like I said, every weekend is knockdown, drag out. It doesn't matter what your record is going into that conference series. Every pitch is thrown with just a little extra pressure because it's conference. But what's different this year is everybody is playing a 3-game series. You have the option to play 4, and those that half of our games will be 4-game series. I was in for all of it because I wanted to really try to create as many opportunities for our seniors to play their last year as possible. So half of our conference series are 4-game series. And I expect, of course, yes, the usuals, Long Beach State to be very good. I expect Hawaii. I really can't go without naming every single team will be competitive, but those are probably your usual suspects. Cal Poly has some really good pitching, and they're playing well. I think our advantage is probably a number of games. Like I said, Long Beach State had just started probably 2 weeks competing before conference play. Cal State Northridge, they opened up their season with conference play. I know Hawaii got approved to play 1 3-game series before conference play started. So we have an advantage in the number of games we've been able to and work out some of the kinks. But, who knows if that really is an advantage, because like I said, conference play, you just don't know what's going to happen.
No question. CSUN has a new head coach, Charlotte Morgan, which is a big name. We've had her on. I mean, that's always exciting. There's always some great plot lines in the Big West. And in the past, you've been a multiple bid league. Do you coaches talk about that, about being a multiple bid league like you've been in the past in the Big West there?
Oh, we're always talking about how to elevate our RPI as a conference and how to get back into that rhythm of having two or three, whether you win conference or not, getting that wild card, putting ourselves in a position to do that. And I think this year was a little interesting because your hands were tied with scheduling, but it's a constant conversation, and we should be a conference that has three. We should every year. And I think, again, the SEC coming into the picture, it's you've got to get a lot more strategic with scheduling. My philosophy is to schedule as most top 25 as we possibly can prior to conference play, just to give us a shot at our RPI, putting us in a position where if we don't win conference, we still get an invite.
And I've always felt that your team, doesn't get seated properly at times recently. You always seem to get sent to the same place over and over in the regional, but you've had teams that could be higher seeds, could be in a mix to host in the past, kind of like baseball has. Does that frustrate you that there's no more creativity in postseason from the at times with your teams, that you just kind of are kind of typecast into a certain regional when in reality you're better than that, maybe deserve a better fate?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, it's in our own hands. So we've got to bust into the top 25 to be able to have a shot, and maybe them consider sending us somewhere else. Yeah, 4 regionals. We've gone to UCLA. We made it to championship Sunday there 3 out of the 4 times. And we always give them a run for their money. But yeah, we got to get better. That's really it. I'm not frustrated with NCAA's decision because we've put ourselves there based on our RPI going in. Some years, yeah, I feel like we should have been sent, but we're going to be locked to our region, and we call it our home away from home when we get sent to UCLA. So there is some I guess the frustration is on us. We got to get better.
I know I've talked to Coach Perez about it. She's just as frustrated as you are. She does not like seeing your team when the bracket comes out either. So, because you've given
Yeah.
them fits there, and it's just kind of it's part of one of the things in softball, and it's not just in your situation. There's a lot of schools that deal with that, where they kind of place in one spot where and some coaches have told me their frustration is from a student athlete experience. They think they should get to experience different things. Not this year, obviously. This year is totally different situation, but just in a normal year that, hey, expand the horizons. It is a national tournament after
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd like it to be not seeded according to financials, but according to true seeds.
Yes.
So, I'd like to see the behind the scenes on that. But at the end of the day, like I said, we've got to get our RPI in a position where, my goal is to host again. That's what I want to put us in position to do. I want to be, in charge of our own destination. So we've got to take care of that with getting those key wins in before conference starts, because where our conference is right now, our RPI doesn't go up as we're playing through conference. So we've got to sit pre-conference, and it's a really it's a dance, because of course you want to get a lot of wins under your belt, that kind of momentum, but you also got to play the top 25, and you got to get the wins. And so just playing them isn't enough. We gotta start turning those close games and those games that we should have won into the W's. So
No question. No
yeah.
question. I'm with you on that. So it's fascinating. Talk about your coaching staff, because obviously your success, it doesn't happen without your coaching staff. Talk about what they've meant to you and the program, and how you came about in having the staff that you have.
Oh, thank you for mentioning that, because I said earlier that surrounding yourself with great people is the key, and not only is their skill set coaching exceptional, but I really can call them my best friends and family. So Georgia Rajo came on board about a month after I accepted the position. And truth be told, I did not know him before. I started recruiting, right at the get-go. Once I passed my test, I got right out there, and he's one of the first coaches I ran into. And he's talking about his players, and I said, I need to get back in the swing of Division I recruiting, because I've been at a JC forever. And these top travel ball coaches, they weren't sending their players to junior college. So I need to get back in rhythm with who's who. And so he took me around, met a bunch of coaches, made some great contacts. Boom, next weekend I randomly run into him again, and I said, listen, I really need some help elevating this program and getting us back on the map. Would you come meet with me? And he and Norm Perez came up to the field, and we just had a meeting just about, I wanted to pick their brain on recruiting. I wanted to pick their brain on branding our program within the travel ball community again, or rebranding it. And by the end of the meeting, I said, George, you want to be my assistant coach? And it was wild. I got all these texts. I heard you, George doesn't even have any D1 coaching experience. Did you hire him? And I said, yep, because my weakness right now is that elite level recruiting, and he knows the ins and outs, and we're going to see if it worked. Well, here we are. He's the associate head coach now, and absolutely a big part of why we have had success. He's an incredible defensive coach. He knows the players. Like, he can go to a field and he remembers, oh, that 12-year-old, that 14-year-old, or do you remember her, Kelly? She played on this team and then went to this team, this position, that position. I mean, he probably even knows their social security number. I don't know, but his mind for seeing young talent is insane. So he has orchestrated our recruiting, and a big part of why this big class came in this year. Caitlin Grimes, otherwise known as Curly, she started as our director of ops, and actually her sister pitched for us, and she, called me and said, hey, I'm leaving Louisiana Lafayette. I want to come join the staff. Do you have anything? And I said, well, let's create this director of ops position. And she hasn't left since. So I think she's on her 6th year. And there's obviously a connection with our championships and her coming on staff. She went from director of ops to assistant coach. She's our hitting coach. But she's kind of has the pulse of what's going on. When I'm oblivious to things, she's like, you need to know this is going on, or I think we need a day off, or this is what we need to do right now. So she's my guide. And then, it's funny you mentioned Charlotte Morgan. She started off in the fall as my volunteer pitching coach. And then she got the position at Northridge. And I thought, gosh, what are we going to do? So George reached out to, or Caitlin actually reached out to our old pitching coach, Dallas Escobedo, and she recommended Danielle O'Toole. And she stepped right in, and it's like we didn't miss a beat. Again, just incredible with her craft. The players connected to her, and so I feel really blessed. And I can't go without mentioning our director of ops, Hannah Rodriguez, used to be shortstop at UC Riverside, and our trainer. I look at all 6 of us as staff. And the thing is, Curly and George, they could each be a head coach at a program in a heartbeat. They could run this program. And that was my job, to go out and find coaches that in certain areas are better than I am. And I think it's been just a great mix. And I can't thank them enough for their sacrifice, and really how they treat the student athletes is the key.
You mentioned Charlotte being your volunteer, and obviously getting to see Sun
Yeah.
Trap. So that's going to be fascinating when you all play each other, the familiarity there. But Danielle O'Toole, of course, who's currently on the Mexican national team. What has that been like for you? And then you mentioned Escobedo's part of that as well. What has that been like to see them part of it?
We've been really fortunate. Dallas was awesome. And then she got an opportunity to play pro in Japan, that she could not pass up, and then with Charlotte coming on, I'll tell you, I knew we weren't going to have her long, but I expected longer than 2 months. I'll tell you that. But that job came open, and I went, uh-oh. this could be a situation. But our pitchers were resilient. They learned a ton from her. And then I kind of look at their experience like, yeah, it's been a downfall that they have had different pitching coaches, but also I look at, whoa, and then Christina Washington, one of our alumni, was also in there after Dallas went to Japan. She came in and worked with our pitchers and threw some incredible live BP as a lefty. So they've been able to pick the brains of some great pitching coaches. And, so we've spun it around on our pitchers. Like, yeah, it's been a bummer not having the same one, but look at this experience from right now, an Olympian, with Danielle O'Toole and her professional experience. She is able to bring her experience from competing over the weekend into our practice. And it's not just me saying, yeah, well, when I played this, she's playing right now. So it's real time coaching. So I just, we're very, very lucky with bringing her on board.
Yeah, that's a lot of All-Americans that pitchers can learn from. So that's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah.
But what does it say about Danielle that, she's right now currently on the Mexican team getting ready for the Olympics, but yet she takes the time to help your program? Because a lot of players might say, hey, I got to focus on just this and this, but she's also taking the time to help your program.
Yeah. Well, when she took this position, that was a priority. Can I lift with the players? Can I throw in scrimmage situations? And that's at a time, during COVID when she really didn't have a facility to be able to train at. So it's win-win. We're getting to her expertise and her mind and her passion that she's given to the pitchers, but she's also given an arena to train in. So, and then we have to be flexible. Was she there opening weekend for conference play for us? Not physically. She was in Oklahoma with playing with the national team, a 3-game series with them. So it's a lot of give and take, but it also, thank goodness we have, the super senior behind the plate, Julia, that is, calling the game now. And Thule worked really hard with her. She had that skill set before, but Thule just shared so many ins and outs from being a pitcher that pretty much called her own game. And she's made Julia's calling, better by far. So even though Thule wasn't there, she was a big part of our wins this weekend.
That's incredible. That's a great story. That's fantastic there. Last question for you as you now get ready for, the rest of the season. What are going to be some of the keys for your team to accomplish your internal goals and have success that you want to have here as you move forward?
Okay. First thing I want to mention, my other senior from last year was Ari Burns. I feel terrible. I'm drawing a blank. One of my favorite kids to coach. But let's move into the season and what's in front of us. And like I said, our theme is family, fight, and finish it. And finish it kind of came out first because we look back, there's 5 games that we had basically in the bag and we didn't finish them. One against Oregon State, one against Fresno State, one against UCLA, one against USD. And we let them, there was one more game, ASU, that we let those games slip away from us and didn't finish it. So one of our pitchers, our freshman pitcher, Savannah, said, and it was kind of interesting. It was after coming off a game that we lost late in the game, and she was pitching a gem, and she came, sorry about that, got a call coming in. After the game, I expect her to come in and go, man, I did my job. We should have made that play. But no, she came in and said, I need to finish it. And so that's where that came from. Our family and fight are cement with our mental training, our mental performance coach, Brian Kane. And we kind of had different themes and we really needed to lock in. And so he pulled out of them what was important, and for them to feel the family and for us to just fight for each other. And those all sound like probably cliches, and every team has their theme, but it took us a while to develop it. And we now everybody is bought in. And I'm saying, just last week, this is where this all came out. We had a visit with with Brian Kane, and that was a priority. We felt like we just didn't have one theme to gravitate to. And so you're going to see us give a lot of energy to that, to family, having each other's back, to fighting hard, and, simple things of just getting that bunt down, moving the runner, fighting hard when that pitcher creates that pop-up in between the infield, outfield to make that play. And then, of course, finish it. That we're going to start the game with that finish it attitude. So if we can giving those three themes energy, the hits, the great pitching performances, the wins are gonna find their way for the Titans. So just really proud of this group and our seniors, putting a stamp on the personality of this team and coming up with that. And I'm excited for what's in front of us. I really feel like the best is yet to come.
No question. And we're excited that we get to have you on our show, Coach. We've been a fan of yours for a while and the great work you've done over there at Cal State Fullerton. Appreciate you taking the time from your busy schedule to come on with us and talk to us about the program and your career as well. Good luck the rest of the way this season, Coach, and we hope to do this again down the road.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.